Hey everyone, my name is Jay, and today I'm going to show you how to modify the Nerf Demolisher. Alright guys, so as you can probably tell, my desk is an absolute nightmare right now. But first I'm just going to go over the stuff you need to do these mods. We're going to take out any resistors, any thermistors, anything like that. We're going to increase the voltage with ultrafires. I got ultrafires right here. I'll probably have to charge them, but I have to find a charger. Yes. Anyways, but we're going to need screwdrivers. I have my Leatherman, which has scissors and a knife blade on it in order to cut the wires and take the covering off the wires in order to connect them. You're going to need solder and a soldering iron. I have my soldering iron right here. I don't know where my solder is. Oh, there it is. Found it. Right there. And that's pretty much it. You're going to need ultrafires, and that's really the other thing. And I'm going to open this up and see if there's anything that can be done about this grenade launcher, but I don't think there is. So, anyways, I'm just going to unscrew it, and I'll open it up and show you what it looks like on the inside. Also, I'm going to try and add another spring to in here, because for some reason, the spring in here is really weak, and if you hit the blaster in a certain way, this will just pop right off, which is really obnoxious, and I'm really disappointed in that. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to unscrew this and it'll be great. Okay, so right off the bat, I didn't even open this up all the way yet, but I took the plunger out of the grenade launcher, and I don't know if I can show you this, but see how much the actual plunger just moves around? There's a lot of give. It definitely tapers in, but if you look at it, I mean, it's just a regular old-fashioned plunger tube. So, I'm going to put some Teflon tape underneath that in a little while and see if that improves things. I don't see why it wouldn't, but I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the rest of this, and I'll get back to you once the blaster is open. So, I just wanted to address something really quick, and, Nerf, thank you. I was not sure about this. I'd seen pictures that looked like the Demolisher because it was just ridiculously orange on Nerf Facebook page, and I wasn't sure. I didn't want to get my hopes up, but if you look, let me see if I can find it. They split the circuit with a little plug thing, and you have no idea how ridiculously happy that makes me, because it means that I no longer have to worry about losing all my screws trying to open up two halves of a shell, even though the batteries are on this side. I mean, it's just really convenient. You can't help but wonder if Nerf had the modifiers in mind when they decided to do that, and I would like to think that they did, and that makes me very happy. So thank you, Nerf. That makes my life a lot easier. So yeah, but this is what it looks like, all opened up. Let me zoom out a little bit. Excuse my crappy camera work. Alright, so this is what it looks like all zoomed out. And as you can see, this is the jam door. We have a mechanical / electrical lock here. We don't have one of those pesky dart sensor lock things. Not sensors, but you know what I mean. The little plastic things in the stripe that are ridiculously annoying. And this is, I mean, this is what this is all the system is. I mean, it's very, very simple. It doesn't look like there's any form of air restrictor in it, so I'm just gonna, I mean, I don't think I don't know, I might Dremel through the grill here, but honestly, I think the only improvement this really needs is Teflon tape around the O-ring, or underneath the O-ring, excuse me. But I'm going to take that out for now, and just focus on the locks in here. And the idea of these mods is to take out any mechanical locks, any electronic locks, and to just simplify the circuit as much as possible. And in order to do that, we have to take the motors out, and we'll do that in a minute. But first, let me figure out where exactly the circuits are for the motor. They appear to run underneath, like that. I can't seem to find where they connect. I don't know. Well, I will fiddle with it and start removing stuff. You're going to need to take the dart pusher off and the trigger off, as well as the cover for this thing right here, which is the rev trigger. So yeah, we're going to be taking out this lock for the jam door, as well as this lock. So it'll be great, and then we'll start removing the resistors, and we'll have a lot of fun. Okay, so I was confused before about not being able to see the wires, and this is the other side of the blaster. I took all the screws out, put them in this cup here, and I noticed these two silver screws right here, and then I got to thinking, there are two different colors of orange, and, you know, so let's unscrew these. I took the batteries out, unscrew these, and figure out what's going on in here, because this might make it, if this actually comes apart and isn't solvent welded together, it'll make it very easy to paint, which will be nice. Is that it? Oh, there's one up here too. Or, yeah, just one. Alright, there's one on this end too. And that comes out quite easily. And then, is that it? It feels like there's more. Please don't tell me it's solvent welded. I really hope it's not. Oh, it might be. That's a bummer. This is going to make things difficult. Well, it appears as though it's solvent welded right on this part. Whoops, dropped something. Right on this part right here. So, I have to boil some water and get that apart, which really sucks because underneath here, right in here, there's the thermistor. There it is. It's just hiding out. Little jerk that it is. Alright, so, okay, so, I don't know what Nerf was thinking. They're like, okay, we'll make it nice and easy for them to take the blaster apart, but we're going to make it really hard for them to get to the wiring because we're Nerf and screw you. So this is going to turn into a bigger project than I had anticipated, which is probably my own fault for not anticipating more trouble from this thing. I just thought it would just be pretty much the same internals as the Strife, and it is for the most part, but then it's not, because the Strife doesn't have multiple layers of shell. So, yeah, I'm going to go boil some water, and basically what you're going to do is use like a tea kettle or something, and hold this over the sink, and just pour water onto it, and let it just run off. Don't do it for too long, though, because you don't want to warp the shell. So, yeah. This is, it's, I feel like Nerf is just laughing. They're sitting in their boardrooms just laughing, the designers, and they're having a nice giggle at the expense of the modifiers because, you know, they put the bone in front of our face and we're just jumping at it, or whatever it is, the carrot in front of our face, not the bone. I'm thinking of dogs. They're making an ass out of us is basically what I'm trying to say. Anyways, okay, so yeah. But, yeah, I'm going to go do that and come back to you. Alright, so before I go and remove the solvent weld on the other side, I looked on this side and there's solvent weld on basically the same spot. So I'm going to have to do my best to try and remove the flywheels right now because I've got to get them out of the way. And I might as well completely unsolder them from their connections because why the heck not? But I could do that off screen. You want to use a soldering iron to actually remove the stock connections, because the last time I tried the prying method was on my Rapid Strike and I almost completely pried off the contacts of the motors, and my Rapid Strike is all sorts of messed up now, so there you have it. And it seems like I'm having some trouble getting the motors out. So let's take a look on this side and see what the deal is. Can't tell if it's clipped in somehow. It looks like it. Or if I just didn't unscrew it all the way because I'm an idiot. But it looks like I did. Oh, there we go. Hey-o. little bit of force goes a long way, I guess. Alright, so I'm going to try and remove this really quick because it's just going to get in the way. Remove this. Anything that you can take off, you should, just because it's less stuff to get water in, and if you get water in, you're probably going to have a bad time. So, as you can see, we have red in the front and green in the back. So red is positive, green is negative in this case. And we're going to simplify the circuit further, but I'm going to disconnect these in a little bit, so I'll need to warm up my soldering iron and soak the sponge. But first, let's remove any mechanical parts that can be removed. This is a long screw. All right. Put that there. So it doesn't look like you can actually remove the jammed door easily. I mean, you'll have to remove it once you remove the parts of the shell from each other. There we go. And 2 other screws. The flywheel screws over here. So there's some sort of other thermistor, another resistor kind of thing in here as well. So they're just, I mean, they really, I feel like they're just going overboard now with this stuff, which is obnoxious because it's just more stuff that takes up more time, and I don't like it. Put that there. Alright. This rev trigger is the only switch we're going to keep in the system. Is this solvent welded too? I swear to God. Whoop. There we go. I was going to be really annoyed if that was solvent welded. Probably was a little bit, but anyways. So we have a mechanical lock right here. We can remove that because that's pesky and annoying and we don't need it. Hate mechanical locks. Alright. So, God, I have such mixed emotions about this blaster because on the one hand, you have multiple layers of shell that are solvent welded together, and the electronics are in between, are sandwiched in between the layers. But at the same time, you can just take apart the halves of the shell, and oh man, I'm happy and unhappy at the same time, and it's all very confusing. And let's get this part out of here as well. I can't really do much with that because that goes under the shell. I mean, it's just so, I don't know how to feel about this blaster because on the one hand, it's already being a pain in the ass to try and mod. But on the other hand, there are some things that are so convenient, and I love it. Alright, so let's bring this part up here. And as you can see, it's got this thing, which is pointless, and this thing, which is pointless as well. We don't need it. We want to simplify everything as much as possible. The simpler, the better. Is that glued in? Interesting. Well, that's a first. Alright, so this is basically it, bare bones. I'm going to cut the connections to this real quick with my Leatherman, if I can find it. I highly recommend Leatherman. I mean, honestly, it's this thing. I got this when I was 14, and 6 years later, it's still holding strong. and making things incredibly, incredibly easy. Alright. Beautiful. Now don't worry about this. The idea, once again, is to make the circuit as simple as possible. So even though there are all these different colored wires, a lot of them go to switches, and the only switch, once again, that we want to keep is this rev trigger right here. So any mechanical locks, any electronic switches in other parts of the blaster are going bye-bye. So I'm going to go ahead and put the kettle on, as the English like to say, and try and get this thing out of here after I unsolder these connections, which I'll do off camera because, I mean, you should know how to use a soldering iron, because if you don't, I'll be very disappointed. So yeah, that's kind of a disclaimer there. Just by the way, if you don't know how to use a soldering iron, do not try this. Alright, yeah. Okay, so after a lot of time and effort, I finally got everything apart. It was really, really a pain in the ass. My God. But as you can see, there's water everywhere on this. But there is the thermistor right there, and that's basically going to sense when the voltage is too high and cut the power from it. So, and this is basically some sort of switchboard of some sort. Not a switchboard, but you know, it basically splits up the circuit into different sensors, not sensors, but switches. And it's useless, so we'll be cutting that out. But what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna work from the motors back after I cut out the thermistor and reattach it. Yeah. Man, that was a pain in the ass to try and do. Oh God, that just took way too long. I went from joy at finding this to absolute just depression at figuring out it was all solvent welded together, and finally joy again now that it's all undone, and then depression because now I have to do all this. So okay, I'm just gonna start getting to work. First thing we're gonna do is we're going to cut the yellow and red wire in here, cut them off, and just attach them right to each other. And I would recommend when you do this stuff with that's underneath the different parts of the shell, make sure that you give more slack than you think you need, because having more is always better than not having enough. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, just quickly showing you what I did. I took out the thermistor, which is this thing right here, and soldered the yellow wire to the red wire. And that's all you need to do for this side. That's all that you need, which is fantastic, because then we can move on to the more overly complicated stuff, which is on the other side, which I will get to in a few moments. God, I can't get over how much of a pain in the ass it was just to get this damn thing together. Ugh. Alright, anyways, ranting over. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is get rid of all this conglomeration of wires and stuff by making some very delicate surgical maneuvers right here. And let's cut off the green. Right there. And the red right there. Alright, so what we have now are 4 wires. We have the red, which is positive, and the green, which is negative, and these will go to the motors. And then we have the black, which is negative, and I think it's pink, but it could just be the lighting, pink or white, which is the positive. So this one will go to this one, and this one will go to this one. So yeah, I'm actually going to do that outside, so I can just outside of the actual blaster, so I can just thread them through as much as possible, so I don't drip any hot solder. I can't talk today, my God, into the shell, or at least I'd try not to, because God knows it's happened before, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. It just eats right through the plastic. I'm also going to be taking the motors out of their casings, I think, because I don't want to drip solder, or I don't know, part of me thinks it would just be better just to leave the resistors on there. Less work for me. I'm getting kind of lazy. But anyways, if I don't, we'll be using this excess wire on here to take the place of these resistors, which is a pain in the ass, and it's a lot of fine soldering, and it takes a lot of work. But yeah, so I'm going to solder these together and show you what it looks like when it's done. Just a quick soldering tip. What I do is I actually twist the wires together after I cut off a bit of the plastic covering before I get the soldering on, just because, I mean, it makes it a lot easier to connect the two. I apologize if my soldering technique needs some work, because it probably does. Whoops. Come back here, you. Anyways, then you can go about connecting everything, and then you won't worry about them, you know, falling apart while you're trying to put everything together. Then what you'll do, hi, that's still hot, careful guys, this stuff can burn, is I bend it over to one side and I take a little bit of E-tape, blue is all I could find, and then cut it, oops, and wrap it around just to properly insulate it. And then, now I'm going to show off for you guys a little bit, if I can find what I'm looking for. This is my Zippo lighter. I don't smoke or anything, but I like the tricks, if I can actually get it to light. There we go. Then you shrink wrap it with the Zippo to kind of get it to stay in place, which is a trick that Coop uses, and a trick that I very much like myself. But yeah, it's my biohazard Zippo lighter. I feel so cool when I play with it. But yeah, so that protects the solder, and just kind of insulates it. And yeah, that works really well. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it with the other side. And what I found is, what you can do is, if you're like me and you're using these little pair of scissors, squeeze gently while you twist the wire around, and that creates this kind of cut that you can dig your nail into and then pull off the actual wire, which is really nice. Try not to squeeze too hard on the scissors, or you'll end up actually cutting through the wire, which I did with the red one. But yeah, works really well. And then you can just pop it off, and there you have it. I don't know if you could see that before, but yeah, it works really well. And I'm going to go ahead and attach this green one to the black. And once again, guys, the idea here is to make the circuit as simple as possible. So fewest, you know, interruptions, just so it's easy for the current to flow through and you don't have any interruptions when you're trying to use it. So you can run it with the jam door open, you could rev it without a clip in it, you know, it just makes it's more convenient. So yeah. Alright guys, I apologize. This is going to end up being a really, really long mod guide, but there's a lot more steps than I had anticipated, and I haven't even gotten to working on this thing yet, which won't take long. It'll just be some Teflon tape beyond the O-ring, but we have to get through this first. So I decided, because I'm lazy, that I'm just going to leave the resistors on. I'm not anticipating that much trouble with them. They're just resistors. It'll slow it down a little bit, but I mean, with all that I'm going to be putting through it, it's not going to make that much of a difference. I want you to make sure that if you wire everything correctly, if the pink/white wire connects to the red wire, everything's good. Red wire should go on this one, closer to the exit point. Remember though, this is upside down, so you're going to have to flip it over. I've threaded everything through, and honestly, thinking about it now, I probably should have done it the other way around. But, I mean, whatever. I was never one for doing things the easy way anyways. So, let's get our soldering iron out and just try and press it on there. And it's nice, what I like about this is the fact that you already have you already have the solder on there. So you just redo the solder and everything is good. And that, let me see, looks fine. Alright, beautiful. And this is what I like about keeping the resistors intact, is because you already have the solder there. You don't have to make little bits of wire. You already have a bit of solder on the wire. And it just all around makes things a whole lot easier. And there you have it. It's as simple as that. And then you just flip it over, and as you're flipping it over, you can pull some of the slack out of these wires. And I'm not going to be running any electricity through it for a little while because I got to make sure that all the water is dried out of it. So I'm going to leave it apart for a while, let my ultrafires charge. But it just fits in like that. Everything will go back in place just fine, I'm assuming. Just got to make sure that there's enough room for all this wire, but it should be okay. As long as, oh yeah, and there will be enough room. I actually had to, thinking about it now, I had to pull the wire, this part of the wiring forward so that I would have enough slack to actually solder it to this. But now that everything's back to the way it's supposed to be, I can bring this back in here and pull the black wire more. And alright, this has been, it's been an up and down kind of journey, kind of how my review was, but I'm feeling confident now, and hopefully everything will turn out okay. I'm really, fingers crossed. Alright. Seems like there's a bit of problem. There we go. With that. Alright. We can pull the black one a bit. Alright. Oops. Yikes. Anyways, so that's pretty much all you'll have to do electronically now that I think about it. It's honestly the biggest problem was just getting the shell open in pieces so that you could actually get to the wiring. So now I'm going to just reassemble everything. I'll show you how to put everything back in, everything mechanical back in. This goes one of two ways. But anyways, this has been quite an experience for me. Because I was kind of going in blind. I haven't seen any mod guides for this yet. I don't know if there are any out there. If there are, you know, congratulations for beating me. But there we go. Okay, so that's in place. That should connect just fine. Everything seems like it'll come along nicely. Beautiful. So yeah. All right. Let's get to putting everything back together. In order to do that, you need to make sure that this is the correct side. Yes, it is. And there are a lot of these silver screws, so it's important to make sure that the silver screws don't get lost because they're necessary. And it just fits together like that. I'll leave this out for now. But it fits together like that. I'm anticipating it to be a little warped after all the hot water I subjected it to, but it seems to be snapping back into place okay. And once you get the silver screws in it, it'll work alright. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera real quick and then show you where to put the rest of the mechanical parts. Okay guys, so I wrapped this up and re-lubed it with Orange Modworks silicone grease because Orange Modworks rules. Yeah, endorsement. Anyways, so I did about 3 wraps, 3 times around on this plunger head, and the difference it makes is pretty noticeable actually compared to it's starting to really make a good seal around here as opposed to around here. Stock, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you should be able to see. Okay, cool. But now it's a little harder to push in. which is good. I probably wouldn't recommend more than 4 wraps if you really want like a redonkulous seal, but I'm expecting to get some increased ranges out of it. Let me see. I'm just gonna try and fire this off. I still need to add another spring to this pain in the ass thing right here, but I mean I can do that on my own time. Alright, actually push the plunger tube out. Alright, it's definitely making a different sound. I'll have to do it with the actual handle on to get a really good feel as to what's changed. But yeah, I wouldn't really recommend 4 even. 3 seems to be the limit here. But yeah, that should work really well, and hopefully everything will come together nicely, knock on wood. I'm pretty sure I have to charge my ultrafires, but I'll probably put in 3 ultrafires and a AA. I don't really want to burn out the motors. So yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put everything back together mechanically, and then we will test fire. Thank you, God. Alright, so I'm going to try and put everything together with this obnoxious tripod in the way. So let's start with the front of the blaster and work our way back. First of all, let's get these screws back on the frame of the flywheels, because it's very important that the flywheels stay in place and vibrate as little as possible, because we're going to be putting higher voltage through them, and so they're going to vibrate a lot more. So we got to make sure that they're tightened down completely so there's no vibrations. And there are 4, I just got a message, 4 screws, and you kind of got to play with them a little bit. There we go. Oh, that one's so much easier than the other one. Alright, one more. As you can see, I'm very organized, as always. It's just kind of how my mind works. It's a million thoughts all kind of jumbled together, and my desk is a good example of a million things jumbled together, and I just kind of clear off space when I need to. It's very poetic, actually. Alright, so next what we need to do is put this thing back. I like that sling attachment point. It's really cool looking. It kind of gives it like a Uzi sort of look. I don't know if it's an Uzi. I'm not really a gun expert, so don't really judge me too much for that if I don't get it right. So, I'm going to look at something real quick, because in all other, for some reason, all other Nerf blasters, when you pull the rev trigger, it pulls the regular trigger back, and when you pull the regular trigger, it pulls the rev trigger back, which is annoying for me personally, but I can't see myself pulling the trigger. Alright, you know what? I'm just going to leave it. I usually Dremel it down, but I'm just going to leave it. I'm jumping ahead of myself here. Alright, so next what we want to do is we want to put the barrel in, and we're going to fit it in like this, I believe. Alright, I figured it out. I'm completely stupid. So with this, you have to slide it in this part first, in between this, while you put it in, and then you can slide the barrel into place. Okay, that was annoying. Next, let's move on to the jam door here, which I quite like the fact that they have a little clicky thing installed there, and I believe the spring is glued into place, which makes things very helpful. But as you can see, you're going to have to nudge your wires over a little bit, because the part that you're putting into place here will go right in here, and it'll keep the wires kind of in place, but you gotta, it's finicky. There we go. So let's screw this into place. Ta-da. Alright, that's good. Next we have, I believe this goes like that. I feel like I'm playing with Legos or something and trying to do it without the instructions. Yes, I am correct. And that's just to cover everything up and complete the aesthetics of it. I believe that's correct. Should be. Alright, anyways, so next, let's go over here. I'm missing a small screw. Let's take this out for a second. And this is also just here to improve the internal aesthetics, if there is such a thing, considering no one's going to see it, but it bugs me. So I'm going to do it. And it takes a couple times to find the threading on this thing, which is obnoxious. But once you do, it makes things a lot easier. Except for I didn't find the threading that time. Alright, so I don't really need that third screw. Whatever. Screw it. Get it? I'm funny, guys, I swear. Alright, so next we have this part, which goes over here, and it covers the rev trigger. And once again, I want to repeat that this should be the only switch that you leave in the circuit. There we go. Oh, much better. Alright, and then your trigger. Trigger back. Now, where is this? There it is. Okay. Beautiful. That's all screwed into place. And yeah, usually I Dremel out that part, but whatever. I'm not going to. And I can guarantee you that the trigger pull will be so much better now. And this spring here loops onto this screw peg. Screw peg. What am I doing? That is the wrong screw for that. I am herping the derp. For real, guys. This is the screw for that. There we go. And then this long one is the one for this part. Yeah, this is probably going to be a really long mod guide. Alright, that trigger pull is much cleaner. Let's loosen this actually just a teeny bit. Much better. Okay. So, almost everything, I believe almost everything internally is back to the way it should be, except for the grenade launcher here. So, let's go ahead and put that back in. And there's this flat plastic piece that goes in here as well. I'm not really certain which way that goes, but I'm sure we can figure it out with a little. And lastly, you don't want to forget your, well, almost lastly, you also don't want to forget your sling attachment points, but you really don't want to forget, it always bugs me when blasters don't have this. It's just I'm not really an OCD person, but that's one of the things that really grinds my gears. So, everything is pretty much in place. It's throwing me off. I feel like there should be more in there. There isn't. So let's figure out which way this goes. I really am not sure. Alright, anyways, I'm also not really sure what exactly this does. I don't think it serves too much of a purpose, but I'm gonna put it back just in case. So yeah, so that's how everything should look internally. When you bring the other part up, which I'm grabbing off the floor right now, you just want to connect the two halves together and you're good to go. So yeah, I mean, this actually came together pretty nicely once we worked out all the kinks in it. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know how to feel about this blaster. I really don't. I've never felt this way before. I'm confused. Okay, guys, I said I would wait on this, but I'm actually speechless. I'm gonna pull up the clip from when I tried this out when I was doing the review of this. And then I'm gonna compare it to this. I mean, if you want any more reason to clean up a circuit than that, I don't know what to tell you, because that is, wow, just the difference in sound with just double A's is ridiculous. And this is with me leaving the resistors in. I don't know. I don't know if you can. I wish you could see my face right now because I'm a little giddy. Actually, my God, I'm really impressed. This might actually live up to its name now. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together, throw a few ultrafires in it. I think I might only do 2, but everything is worth it now. Oh my God. All right, I'm gonna throw some ultrafires in this, screw it back together, and by the way, you can just slide this part in. It slides in once you put the halves together. Oh my God, I'm so happy right now. Everything I've done has paid off. Alright guys, so it's finally done after hours and hours. As you can see, the jam door can be open and it can be revved up. That's on 1 AA and 3 probably half-dead ultrafires. It's not a good idea to mix batteries like that. Don't do it. I'm just doing it because I have no blank AA size blanked to fill a space. First thing I want to go over is this, because as you can see, I'm putting it in and it's already popping this up a bit. So it no longer shoots forward on its own, which is a result of the Teflon tape under the O-ring. And so firing it is much more powerful, and I'm really a lot happier with it because it was just really wimpy before. So now I'm going to fire off a bunch of darts. Ooh. And one didn't quite catch on the flywheels and I had to push that forward, but you can fire with the jam door open. The circuit's ridiculously clean now. And you can rev it without a clip. And I'm so much happier with the Demolisher now. I just can't even. I feel a lot better about actually getting it, because after I did my review of it, I was really kind of bummed. I was like, man, this is not worth the money. But now I'm much more impressed with it, and will be using this at Nerf Club for sure. I still have to figure out the issue with this. Let me show you this. Watch this. It just pops right off. So that was Nerf. What were you thinking? And this piece of electrical tape. Alright, but anyways, this has been a very, very long mod guide, and I apologize for any of you who couldn't get all the way through it. Also, one thing. Shout out to Bobololo, because I saw you recently subscribed to me, and I was like, Senpai noticed me, and I geeked out a little bit and had to take a screenshot and post it on Facebook, because I was really excited. Because, I mean, it's kind of a compliment when one of the big names in Nerf, in the modding world, notices you and takes the time to actually subscribe to you. So if you're watching this, which, I mean, props to you for getting all the way through it. I'm gonna hate myself after editing this, but thank you. I'm very honored and humbled that you would subscribe to me. And if you're not subscribed to him, I don't know what's wrong with you, because how are you watching me before him? Like, it's just, anyways. But yeah, go subscribe to Bobololo because he is ridiculously awesome. One of the best out there. And honestly, he's just a great YouTube personality. He's really funny. He's a great guy. He's really active on the internet. And he's just really cool. So yeah, check him out. Thank you guys for watching. Hope your demolishers come out as good as mine did. Yeah. I'm gonna like go to sleep now or something. This took forever. But yeah, thanks guys. See you later.